Okay. I tell you what, let me get started. And if I don't cover what you're wanting, then I'll recognize you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay. I'm Ronald Crutcher. I'm chairman of the Franklin Roads and Streets Appeal Board, and I may not have that right. And we have a quorum. I will open the meeting, and with this statement. The Building, Streets and Standards Boards of Appeal will limit physical access to this meeting room due to the current limitations on public gatherings to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the City of Franklin officials, staffs, and citizens. The purpose of this meeting is to hear an appeal that has been submitted to the board pursuant to the bylaws. This meeting does not provide public comment. Therefore, viewing only options will be provided. Acknowledgement have been made to assure that the public is able to view the meeting. The public may view the meeting in the following ways: watching the meeting on Franklin TV or the City of Franklin website, watch the live stream through the City of Franklin Facebook and YouTube accounts. These are the addresses of the website to view the city YouTube. I can give those to you if you want them. City of Frank Facebook website, I have that also if anybody wants them, and the city website. The procedure to follow is this. I will go through the list of members of the building committee, ask you to respond that you hear, and that will be the roll call vote of the board. Anytime that you have a comment, you will identify yourself by name, make the comment. In any vote, I will go around and have you again give your name and your vote. As I say, we will begin to take the roll call of the board. I will begin by again saying, I'm Ronald Crutcher, I'm chairman of the board. We will go to Mr. Harris.
Here.
All right. If you would state your name, please.
Harry Harris.
All right. Mr. Judy.
Hi, Ron. This is Greg Judy.
Okay. Let's see. We also have Mr. Squires.
Yeah, Bill Squires, Assistant City Attorney.
All right. And Mr. Alan Lewis.
Alan Lewis, building official, City of Franklin.
And we have court reporter.
Yes, sir. I'm Terry Beckham.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, we're missing. Hold on.
Gary Bogren here, present, vice chair.
Right. And
Andy Shapiro, I'm here.
Will Jenner.
Yes, I'm the architect on the project.
All right. Andy?
All right, Andy Shapiro.
All right.
I'm
Gary?
Yes, Gary Vogan, present. Thank you.
And Doug?
Yes. Hi, Ron. Doug Barnick with City of Franklin, Architectural Plans Examiner.
Okay.
Ron, I just wanted to say Lance Malashevsky, present.
Sorry about that. All right.
Yep.
Now, the resolution that requires this meeting, I will be reading. It's Resolution 2021-01, resolution declaring that the Building and Street Standards Boards of Appeal shall meet on January the 7th, 2021 and conduct its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of the members physically present in the same location because it is necessary to protect a physical presence in the same location, necessary to protect the health, safety, welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Mr. Squires, do I need to read the rest of the resolution?
You do not, Mr. Chair.
Say again?
You do not, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So we have one item on the agenda today. And
If I could, Mr. Chair, you do need to get a motion for the resolution and a second and then vote on it so that it becomes officially adopted.
okay.
Gary Vogan, motion for approval.
All right. Got a motion?
Gary Harris, second.
Got a second? Okay, we're going to have a roll call vote. And I will begin with Mr. Harris. Identify yourself and vote.
Gary Harris, yay.
All right. Let's see. Lance? Lance?
You're muted.
Sorry, rookie here. Can you clarify me exactly what it is we're voting on? I missed something there.
You're voting on the adoption of this resolution that requires us to meet by Zoom.
Lance Malashevsky, approved, yes.
All right. Gary?
Vote for yes, Gary Vogan.
All right. Greg?
Greg Judy, aye.
All right. Let's see.
Andy Shapiro. Aye.
All right. And that covers the members present, and the vote is unanimous for the resolution. Now, we have one item on the agenda, and we will take that up now. And I will ask, and Chris, could you go through the item, and then I will be asking for the staff's position.
Okay, so the item on the agenda today is a request by the owner, Scott May, of the Athenian Nail Spa, located at 1201 Liberty Pike, Suite 125 in Franklin, Tennessee. The Athenian Nail Spa is a brand new build out of a commercial tenant space in the new building at the corner of Liberty and McEwen, in a new building. So they had constructed, just to give everyone an overview, they have a nail spa, but the nail spa has a seating area around a stage. And the stage is a raised stage. And basically I'll let the building official talk about what the code is and everything. But the question is, should a platform lift be installed on the stage, which is on the current approved plan set? So the applicant has submitted they've submitted a letter as a part of the materials. And the applicant couldn't be here today, so he just asked us to proceed as normal and let him know what he needs to do. Will Jenner, the architect, is here. Hey, Will, do you have a copy of that appeal document in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would you like to read the summary or otherwise summarize?
Yes, make sure I'm reading the right one. It's the one from dated Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020.
That's correct.
Okay. Excuse me. Yes, it says, honorable members of the board, this letter is accompany our previously submitted appeal application and provide a more clearly defined request for your consideration and approval. Summary of issues presented. Our facility includes a 32-inch elevated platform that is intended for use as a stage to allow for live music, comedy, presentations, and other events for clients receiving services at our salon. Performers and speakers can enter and exit the stage by means of a movable 3-step set of stairs. While advanced accommodations can be made for those requiring wheelchair access by the current interpretation of the 2018 International Building Code, section 1108.2.8, there would need to be a dedicated wheelchair lift, as that is being considered an accessible route under ICC A 117.1-2017. We feel that the interpretation and the application of the code requirements do not provide sufficient guidance and do not account for various safety hazards which are not addressed in this particular use case. Additionally, this area is not publicly accessible, as that the steps allowing access are removed when not in use. We would hereby request that the board allow us to implement the following safeguards and accommodations to allow limited use of the stage, while addressing both the interpretive intent of the code and our own subjective safety concerns with its application. And it says, current interpretation of code requirements, installation of a fixed wheelchair lift platform does not fully address the additional inherent safety issues presented, railings, handrails, which would assuredly be necessarily in this application. The machinery typically utilized for such purposes would pose a more concerning risk of injury due to the close proximity to staff and clients. The lift platform would present additional safety risks to performers due to creating a potentially uneven surface area, leading to tripping hazards on the already elevated platform. The platform stage is not publicly accessible. It is only made available for special events and private groups in which non-fixed accommodations for wheelchair access are readily available. See below. Then he goes on, proposed remedies and qualitative solutions. Platform stage shall only be accessible for the following cases. Scheduled live performances in which accessibility accommodations such as a portable wheelchair lift may be made prior to the event. A staff member will be designated to assist with use of such lift equipment and will receive training from the vendor on proper use at our site. A staff member will remain with the performers during the duration of their time on stage. All performers will be required to sign standard disclaimers and releases prior to use of the stage, indicating our policies and practices, as well as a summary of safety related to being on a platform. Then it goes on private events and parties. Private events will have exclusive access to the salon and will not be available to the public at such time. Private events may have access to the stage, providing we are made aware in advance of any such accommodations that need be arranged, such as a wheelchair lift. Safety precautions and liability waivers will be required prior to accessing the stage. Then it says the platform stage will not be used for general public access for any reason. Public karaoke, this will be done by clients either at our bar area, our VIP room, or from the pedicure chairs. Any other use by, any other use by non-staff members. Requested relief. Rather than effectively request the board to make an exemption to code, we ask the Board of Appeals allow us to define this area as a non-public use area for purposes of code application. This area will only be utilized on a scheduled basis by performers under the supervision of staff with advance notice to provide for wheelchair access and assistance. All use must be scheduled and approved by our general manager. We feel that by restricting access to only scheduled performers and private events would give us provided a higher degree of safety and precaution for those accessing this area under direct supervision of staff. Should you have any further questions or concerns regarding this project, you may contact me at 606-515-7281. Best wishes, Scott Mays.
Okay, can we have Alan, can we have the staff's position on this?
Yes. Let's see, the staff requested the board to deny the applicant's request by determining that the stage is required to be on an accessible route in accordance with IBC 1108.2.8. City staff is making this determination requested making this determination requested an interpretation of the code from the International Code Council. And we received a reply from the International Code Council, Ms. Kimberly Parlberg, who is a senior staff architect in the ICC's Codes and Standards Development Department. And her reply was that a stage of this sort would need to be on an accessible route. We feel like that the code is pretty clear that a performance area is required to be accessible by IBC 1108.2.8. And to go further with that, we think that 1108.2.8 comes from the part of the code which states that all sites, buildings and structures, facilities, elements and spaces, temporary or permanent, shall be accessible to individuals with disabilities.
All right, Mr. Jenner, do you, would you like to offer any more information to support the request from Mr. May?
I think what the owner is trying to ask for is that, you know, the interpretation or one of his interpretations of the code is that, you know, you're trying to provide an experience an equal experience, for people who need accessibility to the stage. I mean, he feels that, providing it in the other areas or with a portable wheelchair lift would be an equal to being able to use the actual stage. But he's not here to discuss this, so yeah, I guess I'll let the letter speak for itself.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the board members? And please identify yourself before you put forward questions or comments.
Mr. Chairman, this is Harry Harris. I would just like to make a comment, sort of a clarification up front. The basis of this appeal is on the section 1108.2.8 of the 2018 IBC. And the letter from Kimberly Potterberg with ICC National does address the Americans with Disabilities Act and the U.S. Access Board in her letter, but she's only referencing them. We are strictly reviewing this appeal based on the section in the 2018 IBC. And it would be my understanding that even if this board does rule in favor of the applicant, it would not relieve them of the liability of meeting the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And they could still have complaints filed against them and actions by the potential actions by the Department of Justice. Some of you city officials, would that be a correct statement?
Yes.
That was what I had for right now. I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear on that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
Lance Malashevsky here. In the letter there, you indicated that the temporary stairs would not be in use until they were asked for, and then they would be brought out from somewhere to be used and then put away. Is that correct?
I don't know the operations of his business. I'm just the architect, so it's hard for me to really speak, but I believe that's the intent. And again, the owner just told me 10 minutes before this meeting that he was not going to be on here, so.
I understand. Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's all right. I get it. So yeah, I don't want to overspeak for him or I believe that's the intent. Yes.
I stopped in at the salon prior to the meeting today at about 1:15, just so I could get a visualization of what we were really looking at. And when I got there, I found the stairs in place, ready to be used. And there were occupants inside of the building and nobody was paying attention to those stairs. So I found it to be a particular hazard, especially since there's no railing on that set of stairs. So I was a little surprised that an owner would allow that to be out there.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments?
If I may, this is Chris Bridgewater, recording secretary. The part of the board packet that the board has in front of them or has been supplied to them is a plan sheet. And on that plan sheet that the applicant has given us, it's got a list of what they would do in the various circumstances. So it's sealed by Mr. Jenner, and it tells us when they would bring out the platform and what they would bring it out for, if you wanted to review that document to answer your question, Mr. Malachevsky.
Yeah, it just seemed quite odd to me that none of those conditions exist and the stairway was out. So That was my point.
I have a question, Mr. Squires. If this board were to approve this appeal, would we be creating more liability for the city of Franklin if there is a violation and or if there is a violation of the ADA code, and if there is someone injured, does that increase the city's liability if we approve this appeal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a slightly difficult question to answer. So, you know, how do I say this? I'll use sort of the word, you know, speak plainly, my mama always said. You know, you can be sued anytime by anyone for anything. So that's always a risk. I think the question you're really asking is about liability exposure. Does it increase our exposure? Whether a judge or the Department of Justice or anyone would find any issues or take issues with the city, that's almost impossible to predict. If we were to approve this, however, and an enterprising lawyer were to look at it and look for someone to go after, would they include the city after having this hearing and have it discussed? I suspect the answer is yes. Now, what happens after that is almost impossible to predict, as I say.
Thank you.
Mr. Ron, I have a couple items I'd like to mention, if I may.
Yes.
First of all, the portable stairs that they're proposing in a commercial building, handrails are required on both sides of the stairs. The stair detail that was submitted had no handrails drawn up on the drawings. But in the very beginning, when we received these plans, there was a accessible lift that complied with code inside the performance stage. And then when a building inspector went there, he found out that the performance stage was built without the lift in place, as the approved plan stated. So I don't know what took place there. But also in his letter, Mr. Mays said that guardrails weren't or would not be in place for safety for people up on the stage. Well, there were on the drawings, there were some guardrails in place so that people wouldn't fall back into where the lift area was. So that complied, the 42-inch for guardrail height. And on a performance stage, guardrails are not required. It would be like a music stage, just like this, it's karaoke. Guardrails, handrails are not required on a stage. And one other thing was in his letter, in Mr. May's letter, was a tripping hazard where the lift is. Well, when the lift goes from the lower level up to the floor level, even with the stage, there would be no tripping hazard because a small gate opens and then they would wheel out from the lift onto the performance stage. So there would be no tripping hazard also. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I had that same question, Lance Malashevsky here. When I saw the permit set, there was clearly drawn the lift that was part of the stage. And at some point, somebody made a decision not to install it. And so I was just curious as to when and why that might have happened.
Mr. Jenny, can you speak to that?
I do not have an answer to that, as I was not involved in that decision.
Okay. Alan and Doug, it's my understanding that there is a set of plans, if they were followed completely, that they would have an acceptable area according to codes. Am I correct in that?
Yes, sir. There was a set of plans that showed a lift being installed within the perimeter of the stage that would meet accessibility requirements.
All right. This may not, well, they are operating now under a temporary use and occupancy. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I won't go any further on that as far as what would happen if we don't approve this. That's not relevant for what we're doing. Are there any other questions or comments?
Lance Malashevsky, I do have a question. For somebody who is not disabled, if there were a performance, how would that person get up on the stage?
Oh, via the lift.
Oh, okay. So everybody would use the lift. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Because that's the only access up onto the left, or up onto the stage.
Okay. I wasn't clear on that. So.
All right. I have a question. What about these steps? Have the steps, are there some steps? I have not visited it. Are there some steps out there now that would get you up on the stage?
Lance Malashevsky here. I've got a picture of it that I can forward to somebody to post, but I don't know how to do that.
So you're saying there are steps up there now?
Yeah, there are stairs there right now. I guess maybe I'll hold it up to
I've seen the details of different
the picture. Picture is pretty interesting. Well, I don't know if it'll come up or not. Hang on a second. So there's the stage, and you can see the portable stairs. I have another picture of the stairs. Oh, those are what the stairs look like. There's three. They're 28 inches wide by 8-inch high risers.
Okay.
But that's just sitting on the floor. I was able to move the stairs, and behind the stairs there's an access panel that I peeked in to see if there was power or something for a lift. But it looked like a pretty unsafe condition there right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Crutcher, per the 2018 IBC, stairs in a commercial building are not allowed to exceed 7-inch rise from one step to the other. So that 8-inch rise right now is in violation because the plans that were submitted as a revision states 6 inches from the slab up to the stage, per the plans you have that were submitted to everyone. And another thing was those stairs that were submitted on the revision never state how it was anchored so that it wouldn't move as you're going up the stairs. It didn't state how it would be anchored to the stage, so it wouldn't move. But on top of that, there's still no handrails that's required on both sides of the stairs. And then on top of that, they're required to be 36-inch minimum in width. So there's several violations there.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
This is Harry Harris. I would just like to address the comment about changing this to a non-public area. It's sort of difficult to do that. I don't know that there's any kind of precedent for that in a situation like this. Most of y'all have been in a Chili's, so you go over in the bar area. There's a big bar out in the middle of it. There's one access in there. The public is not allowed in there, only the staff. But it is still in a public building, in a public space, and even inside that bar is technically a public area, whether the customers have access to that or not. That's sort of my opinion and understanding.
Yes, that is correct, Harry, that every building for public utilization is required to have accessibility and including performance stairs, stages like this one.
Okay.
Hey, Ron, this is Gary Vogren. Just want to ask a comment question. So I'm kind of looking at this as, it's similar, well, not similar, but when we do like a swimming pool, and, I'm a landscape architect looking at a project, and typically a pool has a temporary lift or a handicap chair lift that accessibility to a pool. So they either have the lift out as always permanent there, or they store it in a closet or a storage facility when there's needed. So I think they're asking that same thing. They'll have a lift, but they just want to use it as a portable, accessible means, as opposed to a permanent mechanical lift. I guess that's what they're trying to seek. Will you accept that? A temporary one that'll be brought out when needed, if handicap accessible is required? Being, this is a nail salon. It's not a performance stage like a comedy club or Franklin Theater or something like that. It's just a unique situation that it's for a guitar player, maybe in some speaking and some presentations, but for public use, I'm not sure. But I think that's what they're asking is, can they use a temporary lift that gets pulled in and pulled out when needed, and then stairs brought in and out when needed or not needed and put away securely?
I did not take that they were asking for the use of a temporary ramp, temporary lift.
I read that in the notes. It just said the plan, what they're offering is a suggestion, proposed remedies, I guess they call it, and qualitative solutions, but they bring out a temporary lift and then bring it out for events and parties and any public sessions or when the platform is used. So I was just asking that question.
Yeah, I think that definitely was in his proposal for a temporary lift. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, was that, this is first and foremost a nail salon, and this is kind of a secondary use for, whatever, karaoke or music. But, first and foremost, their business is a nail salon, so that's what they're asking for, a temporary wheelchair lifts, because the stage is not going to be occupied 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with people strictly coming to this space just for that. It's kind of this secondary, use, that maybe sets them apart a little bit from the competition.
And that's why I was likening it to a public swimming pool where you have an ADA lift and it's temporary. It's only needed when needed, but it is there. It's either permanently always at the pool or they store it somewhere, much like they're suggesting. So I was just trying to compare thoughts between those kind of uses.
When I read the letter, and I read it looking to see if they were definitely offering that as an option in Louisville permanently. And maybe I misinterpreted it, but I was reading that that was strictly a suggestion, that was a possibility. And
Yeah, and that may be the case, Ron. I'm looking at the end. They're saying that, I think they're really asking, will you define this as a non-public use? But here were some suggestions that we could do, I guess, as part of that.
Taking that one step further, it sounds to me like the original intent was to have the wheelchair lift as access to the stage. And if we're talking that for everyone, so if we are talking about a portable lift for handicap assistance, what is the remedy for non-handicapped people to access the stage, since we've removed the ability of the handicap lift that was on the plans to access the stage? And then does that, if you have a portable set of stairs that meets code, that's, you know, brought out when needed, what does that do for blocking, you know, means of egress for the fire department or whatever, in that space between the back of the stage and the bar is 6 feet. And then with the stools and everything and a 3-foot set of stairs, there wouldn't be much room. So I'm not sure how we would address that, because you're talking about now having to have a temporary situation for everybody, whether it's a set of stairs or a lift. And is a lift battery powered, or is that something that plugs into the wall? Because I did not see any outlets over there that might be conducive to plugging in a lift.
okay, question for Alan, Doug, Chris. If we were to deny this appeal today, are we the applicant could not the applicant come back with a set of plans that answers these questions and changes them from suggestions to actual plans for approval with the necessary electrical code clearance for access? We are not ruling that out by denying this appeal today, are we?
No. City staff basically request of the board. We have 3 items or 3 methods of working this out. One is to require the applicant to provide an accessible route to the existing stage, provide plans modifying the stage construction and identifying the accessible route to the stage, or removal of the stage.
This is Harry Harris. Alan, so those are the only 3 things we're voting on. Essentially.
That's just our recommendation.
Oh, your recommendation. Okay. Thank you.
Gary Vogren.
I have a comment. This is Andy Shapiro.
Go ahead.
Up in the corner there. From what I understand about the ADA, the issue is access to facilities in new construction. And I'm wondering if there has been any consideration for modifying the plans to provide for access without a portable lift, changing the way the stage is configured so that a approved ramp could be included. Because what I see is that accessibility to the stage is going to be dependent upon somebody, a staff member, providing that access. And that, to me, is incongruent with ADA intent, is that people need to have access, and people who have accessibility challenges may or may not request to have somebody move a portable lift to get access to the stage. It becomes quite a problem, I would, in my opinion, anyway. So I'm just wondering if the city could go back to the owner and say that you need to modify your plans so that access is able to be provided.
Yes, Andy, there's Doug Bornick. So you're correct. I mean, in the very beginning, the approved plans had the lift recessed inside the stage where it didn't block egress, because there's seats in a half circle around the stage where there really isn't room for a ramp. And Mr. Jenner, architect, he did have on the approved plans the lift that was recessed in the stage, and so it was out of the way. It provided for egress where the stools are behind it, and it complied. And then, to our unknown, until we had one of the building inspectors go there, the stage was built without the lift. So now it's, it's a little bit of a challenge, because now when you put the steps out, the egress isn't complying for the people sitting in the bar stools. So really the best scenario was that on the approved plans where they had the lift recessed in the stage.
Okay, I understand that, and I can only relate an issue I had building a fire station. The fire station was built, and this is completely off subject, but the fire station was built with no public access. It was the crew quarters that was being built, and we were required to demolish the new construction that the contractor put in, and lower the toilets, the urinals, by 3/8 of an inch, because they were not in compliance with ADA requirements. So I don't think there's a question. I think that it's important that we honor the spirit of accessibility in new construction and make these areas accessible to people who have disabilities, in my opinion. So. But like you said, if I just read a note here, said a 32-inch platform would require 32 feet of ramp. That doesn't seem like a viable option. So I don't know. I'm not an architect, but I think they need to comply with standards in order to be in business for that, at least for that function. I'll leave it at that.
If there's no more discussions, I would entertain a motion on this appeal. Hearing none, Mr. Jenner, is it proper for me to make a motion? I'm sorry, Mr. Squires.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you can make a motion.
Okay. I make the motion that we deny the appeal. And if I get a second, I will explain the reasons for my motion. for my motion and my position.
I'll second Lance Malashevsky.
I will be voting for this motion. One, for the spirit of complying with the handicap code, and the second one is that there is a set of approved drawings that, if they were followed, you would have a structure that meets codes. And so I will be voting for the motion. Does anyone else want to make a comment before I call for a roll call vote?
Andy Shapiro, I would like to make one comment. It seems very interesting to me that if the city approved a set of plans that included a lift, and then apparently Lance went back there and there is a stage there that has no lift, that they're in violation of the code. So it was kind of, to me, that's quite presumptive. They should have come to this board before construction of a stage in the approved way, or get some sort of a modification done so that we would approve the modification. But it appears to me that they just built the stage regardless, and that's a bit disconcerting to me. So I would also vote for this motion to disapprove their modification.
Are there any other comments before we vote?
Mr. Chairman, this is Greg Judy. I just wanted to follow up, and I just want to say I agree with the last few comments. The city's recorded, and we have before us a set of design plans that's been sealed and approved by the city, and construction did not follow that. So I think that's, in my opinion, that's what should have been followed, and to me, that's what needs to take place to move this forward. So I will support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
This is Harry Harris. As an architect, I know if we did something like that, we would get in trouble. But also regarding Mr. Jenner, when an architect submits a stamped set of plans and during the construction possibly instructs the contractor to deviate from that, which is, his right as the owner. But, he could also put Mr. Jenner in some liability also. So I just wanted to make that comment, because apparently Mr. Jenner was not aware that this, was done until after the fact.
If there are no other comments or questions or discussion, I will call for a roll call vote. I would ask that you identify yourself and vote either yes or no for the motion that is before us. Could I have the recorder? Can you read the motion?
Okay, so the motion I have is a motion to deny the appeal and to instruct the owner, I'm going to kind of paraphrase, and to instruct the owner to follow the plans as approved by that are currently in existence.
Okay, you've heard the motion that you're voting on. We will begin with Mr. Judy. Please identify yourself and how you vote.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, Greg Judy, yes.
All right, Mr. Harris.
Greg Harris, I vote yes for the motion to deny.
Let's see. I, Ronald Crutcher, vote yes. Mr.
Andy Shapiro, I vote yes.
All right.
Lance
Gary Vogren,
Malashevsky.
vote for yes for denial.
Okay.
Lance Malashevsky, I vote yes to deny the appeal.
Right. I believe that is all of the members present. And the appeal has been denied. Is there any more business to come before the board?
The city has no further business.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second, Gary Vogren.
All right. Take it to that. I made the motion. Okay. So this, we are adjourned. And thank you for your time and consideration to take care of the city business.
Mr. Chair, if I could, you need to take a vote for the motion to adjourn. I know that sounds silly, but the record shows no vote for it.
All right. I'll begin voting on the motion to adjourn. I vote yes. Mr. Judy?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Harris?
Harry Harris, yes.
Mr. Shapiro?
I vote yes. Andy Shapiro.
Lance Malashevsky, yes.
All
Gary
right.
Vogren, yes for adjournment.
Okay. Vote unanimous and we are adjourned.